According to Advaita Vedanta, one pure consciousness exists, Chit. Through Maya, it appears as Ishvara and Jiva. Jiva is me. And because of the interplay of Ishvara and Jiva, a world is created. And what is this Jiva, this Purusha? It's a combination, an error, a confusion between Chidabhasa and Chit. Pure consciousness, reflected consciousness. I am not aware of myself at all as pure consciousness, let alone the distinction between that. See, in our state of error, we are not even aware that there is such a thing as pure consciousness. Before coming to Vedanta class, we are not even aware that such a thing exists. And all we are aware of is the world and the body and the fact that I am aware of some kind of sentient being, conscious being in this body-mind. That's the reflected consciousness. This mixture, like the real face, mirror and reflected face, this mixture is called the Purusha. As long as we stress the mirror and the reflected face, you are in samsara. When you negate the mirror and the reflected face and say, this is my real face, you are free of samsara. Just like that, as long as we think we are the reflected consciousness in body and mind, we are in samsara. We are bound to be affected by the world. We are bound to be affected by the body. We are bound to be affected by the mind also. Very difficult to come out of it. But when you negate this confusion, when you cut, there's no link at all. What links me and the mirror? Nothing. I'm just looking at the mirror, that's all. So what is the link between pure consciousness? Okay, put it this way. One sadhu put it very nicely. What is the link between Chid and Chidabhasa? What is the connection between pure consciousness and reflected consciousness? What is the connection between the real you and the person you? The answer is there's no connection at all. And he said, Bevkufi matra, stupidity only. The only connection between you and the mirror is I would be stupid to think that I am that reflected face. You will say, you are stupid. No, you are not that reflected face. You are here. But I see that. Yes, you see it, but you don't see yourself. That's why you think you are that one. So that's what is happening to us. Say I, what does the enlightened person refer to? The enlightened person has two meanings for the word I. One is Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness, and the other one is Chit, pure consciousness. So the distinction is very clear when we take that example I gave you about Sri Ramakrishna suffering from cancer. When Sri Ramakrishna says, it hurts and I cannot eat. And he says, I cannot eat. What is he referring to by the term I? Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness. And the moment Hari Maharaj tells him that, but I see that you are in bliss. And when Sri Ramakrishna acknowledges, yes, I am in bliss, that I am in bliss, that I, what does it refer to? Pure consciousness, Chit. Let me repeat that. The enlightened person uses I in two senses. In order to deal with us, in order to live in this practical world, in order to play the role he is playing, because for the enlightened person it's only a role. The enlightened person knows I am not this. So as long as this drama of life continues, the enlightened person continues to play the role and plays it very well. In that role, the enlightened person refers to the I as that role, that Chidabhasa, the reflected consciousness. Yes, here is a body with cancer, and there is pain, and there is suffering, and there is such a struggle, and I say, I am in pain, I am suffering. Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness. But the difference between the enlightened person and the rest of us is that the enlightened person can equally honestly say, even more honestly than that, say, I am not in pain. I am in bliss. Because Aham Brahmashmi, I am Brahman. That is the second sense in which the enlightened person uses the term I to refer to pure consciousness. Summing up, how do you use I in Vedanta? In three ways. The ignorant one uses I to refer to body and mind because the ignorant one means only reflected consciousness by I, Chit. You see how useful these distinctions are, Chit and Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness, pure consciousness. But the enlightened one, the ignorant one means only the awareness, this reflected consciousness. The enlightened one uses I in two senses. Second meaning of I and third meaning of I. The second meaning is, the enlightened one means reflected consciousness when he wants to deal with the rest of us and play the role in life, not seriously. And really, truly, from his heart, if you ask, really, who are you? I am Brahman. Pure consciousness. The I refers to Chit, pure consciousness. I refers to Chidabhasa, reflected consciousness. These are the second and third meanings. First meaning for the ignorant one. Second and third meanings for the enlightened one. The enlightened one sees the distinction between reflected consciousness and pure consciousness. We do not. That's the difference. The opponent won't give up so easily. The opponent says, you have not answered my question. Who is it that says, I am Brahman? Only one who can say is reflected consciousness. But reflected consciousness is not pure consciousness. How can the reflected consciousness say, I am pure consciousness? And pure consciousness cannot say, I am pure consciousness, because pure consciousness cannot say anything. Pure consciousness is pure consciousness. And this is a big question. Who realizes? Who is doing Vedanta? Who becomes enlightened? So this question goes very deep. It is asked in many forms. I have, throughout the last few years, so many ways. If I am Brahman, then whom am I worshipping? How can a non-dualist worship God? All these questions can be answered by these distinctions. See. So the opponent persists in asking the question, who is it that asks, how can the reflected consciousness say, I am pure consciousness? It's not true. Isn't it wrong to say such a thing by your own philosophy? And the answer is, there is no harm in this. Very subtle point. This is because the reflected consciousness is none other than the pure consciousness. Wait a minute, the opponent would say, didn't the whole of this exercise was to separate pure consciousness and reflected consciousness? The distinction between reflected consciousness and pure consciousness, this is what you wanted to teach. And now you have the chutzpah, the gall to say that they are not separate. The subtle point is this. Pure consciousness is indeed separate from reflected consciousness. But reflected consciousness is not separate from pure consciousness. What do you mean by that? Very easy. Real face is separate from the reflected face. But reflected face is not separate from real face. How? Real face can exist without the reflection. Take away the mirror, is the face there or not? I cannot see it, but you can see. It's there. But take away the real face, is the reflection there? No. The reflection does not exist without the reality. The reflection is nothing, ultimately, nothing but the reality. By the way, just a little aside, this nothing but pure consciousness, reflected consciousness is nothing but pure consciousness. This entire universe is nothing but consciousness. Yesterday